Hi Stampers, this is Sheila with Stamping Wishes and welcome to my studio. Today we're going to make this cute little clutch. I saw the original pattern and it looks different because I did mine a little differently, but it was from Intertwined Designs, I believe was the name of it, and I thought I just loved the way it looked and everything and wanted to play with it. This was my first one that I did, and what I did wrong was by putting the handles on the side like this, then of course when it opened it had nowhere to go to put your goodies in there and stuff. And so this next one that I did, I got a little bit smarter and put the it has a magnet closure, and then I put the handles up on the top here. And so they make good little gift bags and you know, for candy or little piece of jewelry. Just so many different things could go into this. And so today we're going to make it just a little bit different in the materials that we're using and stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so you're going to need of your cardstock, whatever color you decide on. I'm using Mary Merlot, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but that's the way I'm going to pronounce it. And this piece is 6.5 by 7.5. And then you need a second one that is 5 by 7.5. And then for the either embossing piece or designer paper, whichever you decide to do, and I decided to do an embossing piece, you want that piece to be 6.5 by 4 inches. And all of these will be on my blog, so don't feel like you have to, you know, speed. Just kind of watch the film and then go to my blog and get all the measurements and material. Then for the handle, I decided to do, as you notice on this one, I used some of the designer paper. And so since this one didn't have designer paper that I was going to use this time, I decided to go ahead and cut a strip. This is 1/4 inch by 11.5, or by 11, I'm sorry. And then the Mary Merlot is a 1/2 inch by 11. And it may be a little bit long, but I think that's what I like the longer handles like that. Then I ran it through the basket weave. I'm using this particular dynamic basket weave that we have available, and that's what I used on this piece. But then for this piece I went through and I did half of it this way and then flipped it around and did the other half. So you've got that kind of a texture look, and that's what I was looking for. That'll go in between here. Then you need another piece, which would be 1 inch by 5 inch, and that's going to become this little closure that you have here that goes into this and then flips over to the magnet there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our scoring and get the project on its way. Okay, let's go ahead and move out, and I'm hoping I've got you in frame here. I'm trying to remember where my spacing of frame is and stuff. So for the 7.5 inch side, which is this side right here, okay, we're going to score that one at 1.5 inches and then 6 inches. So let's come over here to our 1.5 inch, make sure we have our scoring. And then we're going to go to, yeah, and then we're going to go to, sorry, I have to look at my notes, make sure I'm doing this right. And then we're going to go to the 6 inch side and also score there. Then we're going to turn it to the 6.5 inch side, and we're going to score it at 2.5 inches. And then we're going to score it at 4 inches. Okay, and that should be all we need right now. Okay, so now let's go ahead and burnish our score lines just so that we have an easier view of what we're doing here. Okay, and we can go ahead and do these as well while we're doing it. Okay, so what we're going to do is cut up on this side here, right on your score line, and on the other side. And we'll see how it fits and see if I need to angle any of the edges here to wedge it out a little bit, but I think we should be okay with it. And for the sake of time, I usually would use liquid glue to adhere all of my pieces here, but for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and use snail glue today, okay? So what you're going to be doing is you'll be bringing this, you'll put your adhesive here, and then you'll bring this piece over, and then this piece, and you want to make sure if it's not squared off like that, then you've got, if you notice here, when I cut, I left a little bit there, so I want to get rid of that. Just kind of straight it and then to the very edge there, because I want it to be flush on top, and see how that nicely takes care of that issue. So you just have to remember that when you're cutting, is kind of do a dry fit first and make sure all your pieces are coming together squared, and that one looks good. Okay, so let's go ahead and adhere this piece. And for my club members, I'll be putting out a video because we have our class this Friday, and this is another one of the projects we're going to be doing. So before you come to class, it might be a good idea just to kind of look at the mechanisms of it and everything and make sure it's working well. Okay, so we're going to bring this up to there, and then we'll bring that one up to there. Now all we have to do is make sure that we're taking these pieces, which we are because of putting these together first. You make sure that you're going to have one set that's going to go to the back, because that way your front will have a nice even finish with no seams on it. Okay, so now we're going to bring this over here and just close it up real good. And again, you use your favorite adhesive. Like I said, for time-wise, I'm just doing it like so. And then if you want to, just take your bone folder and make sure all of your adhesive is catching onto your cardstock. Okay, so that's the bottom of our piece. Now this is going to be the top that we'll take and wrap around. And what we need to do is go ahead and glue this. And because when I put it through, you notice there's this little bit of an edge, and instead of trimming it off, I'm going to just have that go. When I put this on, it'll go to the back, and I'll have more of the finished one here at the front. I don't think that'll be that noticeable, and I didn't want to trim it off. So let's go ahead, and on this one I am, because I'll show you when we make our curve, I'm going to go ahead and use some of the liquid adhesive on it, because we're going to take and once I put this onto this piece, then I'm going to take on the edge of my table and I'm going to just roll it through. I'll show you what happens. It gives you that little bit of a curve effect, and you could probably use other things too. It's just I found that to be the easiest for me to handle, and I got the nice little curve that I was looking for. Okay, let's make sure we get any of that excess glue off. I'm trying not to push too hard because I don't want to lose any of our embossing, which is one of the prettier features on this. Okay, so I'm going to come over here to the edge of my desk, and you probably can't see this, but all I'm doing is using one hand and pressuring on it, and then I get this little bit of a bend with it. And this kind of brings your, without, I don't want it to bend in half, I just want it to have that curved effect, okay? Now I would recommend, if you're doing this at home and have a little bit more time, I would on the edges here use my tear and tape and just make sure that your edges, because otherwise this could, you know, start to want to come up because of the mobility of it being curved like that, okay? So then as you can see, we just bring this over and how it fits real nicely and everything. So you want to take and glue the back of it on, and remember I wanted this on the back, so I'm going to put it on the board like this, and then we wanted this to be the back because that's where our seams are. So where I'm going to put the adhesive is right on the box itself. Let's bring this over. And then we'll set that down onto the back evenly. But you can see how quick and easy this is, and in this particular version I'm not doing any kind of stamping or anything, it's just the little clutch. And if you notice, I'm trying to balance this. And what I did was to use probably 1/8 of an inch down here at the end. I'm just letting that kind of be there. And then I have probably right at 1/4 of an inch on each side. And you want to, again, make sure that you've gotten that evenly. Now, one of the things that I did when I glued this already, which I can still, because it's light, I forgot to put my magnet on. So let's do that real quick before it completely dries. All right, I get these little magnets through Amazon, and they're really nice for if you do scrapbooking and do your interactive pages or any of your projects like this. And the size of them, and I don't know if you can see this part number that might help you, is B076C68VZ3G, but you get 80 pieces and they're 8 by 1 millimeter. Okay, and they're just really a perfect deal. So let's go ahead and lift this back up because it was still wet. And I'm going to put me a dot so it won't be moving around there. You want to put your magnet really before you put your DSP or your textured covering on it. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down and just hold it for a second here. And I just try, when I'm doing it, I'm trying to get it more in the center. I can feel it about right here. And that way when this comes around and the piece that's going to come up and around will hit here. And I think that is enough to give it the strength that we want it to have. Okay. And so let's go ahead and bring in the next piece, which is this one. And I just did this by fitting it onto here. And then I brought this around because that's, you know, where it's going to lay. Okay. Did the same thing, gave it about probably the same amount there, about that 1/8 of an inch there. And then I just bend this. And that gives me an idea where this is going to, you know, come around, and it gives it that extra support too. Now, again, you have to kind of feel for your magnet, which what we'll do is put our magnet piece on here in a minute, but I need to put this tab down first. And again, I just kind of eyeball it and make sure that it's centered. And on this one, I'm going to do a quick, let's see if I've got enough. I'm just about out of my tear and tape, but I'm going to do a tear and tape there because that is one of your mechanisms. And so it's going to get more wear and tear on it, and I wanted to be sure that it wasn't going to come off when people are opening and closing it. So let's go ahead and put this here, and again we're going to bring it, I'm just kind of eyeing it, and that looks about right here. Okay. All right. So we've got to find where our magnet's going to be at. So we're going to, and what I do with my magnets when I have them on the desk, because they're so easy to attach to something if it's metal, is I usually put it on my scissors or somewhere where I'll remember where it is. Now what I do is I come across with a little tab of the glue, because I just need to know on this piece where it needs to go. So I come up here and do one of those, and it gives me my pattern there. So then I'm going to move it off of there. Okay. Just make sure I have that. That comes down. So we definitely want it this way. All right. We'll give that a second to dry. Otherwise, see how it comes off again. Now, one of the things you can do too is your glue dots, they help too in adhering that a little bit quicker to what you're working on. But the main thing is just to let it dry. Let's pull it off here and bring it here. Okay, so while that's drying, and we'll just leave it like that, while that's drying, we're going to go ahead and make our flower like we did here, but we're going to be putting it on there. This seems to want to, let me kind of burnish this a little bit here. It's one to turn a bit. There we go. Okay, so we're going to put this off to the side, and then you want to take your 2-inch punch, and I want to punch 2 in the Mary Merlot because that is what we're going to build our petals in. Okay, here we go. All right, so on one of these, I'm using the new pressed petal specially washi tape. I just think this was a genius idea, whoever designed this, to be able to have these beautiful petals that come off. And I like to just kind of layer them down like that, and then I just start bringing them, and you can put them as close as you want to or far apart depending on what you're wanting the look to be. And so I'm going to be layering them on there. And you have a generous amount here too. Now, one of the things I'm going to play with, I didn't do it before the video, so I don't want to play with it here, but I want to be able to cut down into the petals a little bit and through here, you know, just kind of cut around, and then use my bone folder and see if I can't get the formation of a flower instead of it being flat like it will be, to have some dimension to it. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to play with it and see what it does. I'm going to speed up during this period, but you can get an idea of what I'm doing here, and that's what you'll need to do to build yours. Here again, because it just gives it, I think, a finished floral look, is the Perennial Essence Floral Centers. I'm going to take one of those out, but see how that just adds to it. I'll put that there. Now you could put, if you wanted to, a rhinestone in the center there, any kind of embellishment. If you were wanting to go for maybe more of a country look, you might even put a button there, you know. So there's all kinds of things that you could put there. But we're going to use a little floral center there. Isn't that beautiful? Just saying, and it's so easy and fast and quick to get that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to attach this here. I debated on whether I wanted to put leaves on this one, but I think I'm going to leave it without it. The leaves on this one kind of brought in the designer paper, whereas here we don't. So I just want it to be kind of an embellishment as on the little clutch that we're doing here of what closes it and everything. So we're going to go ahead and place this on here, and then we're going to open it up and put this on the back of it, and it just gives us a finished look when we do that. Okay, so let's go ahead, and because we are doing both the front and back at the same time here, I'm just going to go ahead and put adhesive all on this circle here. Don't, so we'll just, I think we'll be fine. Okay, so now what I want to do is adhere this piece here. Now, if you wanted to do some shading on here just to bring it, I wanted to keep the simplicity of it, but if you did want to, you could definitely do that. Let's see which side we want. I want to use that side, just to bring out some of the weave on it. And you could do it either in the crumb cake, because that's the cardstock that we're using, or even if you wanted to bring a little bit of the Mary Merlot into it, just to blend the colors, that would be another thing you could do on the edge that would be real pretty. Okay, so let's get this strip here, and we're going to put it right into the center of this one here. And I'm just having a time with getting glue all over my fingers. And then if you feel like it's too long and you want to shorten this, you definitely could. But what I did was to just kind of bring it up and decide, yeah, that's what I like. And then probably, oops, not glued quite. trying to rush this, so I better slow it down a little bit, give this about the same time. I guess that's probably about 3/4 of an inch is what I'm doing there. I'm just kind of folding it, and that way I can bring it in. And then when you do this, you're going to be doing it on the curve, and you want to make sure you've got it about where you know, evenly there. And then just go ahead and open this up, and you can either use some tear and tape, and for me, I'm going to use some glue dots right now because it'd just be a little bit easier and faster. So I'll just put a glue dot there and bring this down, and I can always bring some of the tear and tape into it a little bit later. And because I want this to be as even as I can get it, I want to kind of give it an eye here. There we go. That looks good there. I think so. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a, in fact, this one's probably would do better with 2 of them on it. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. So then again, I'm just kind of eyeing it over there to make sure we get it kind of on the even side. Okay. There we go. And then we just close this up here. And beautiful. Another little clutch. So as you can see, very easy, very quick. So hope you like it. And until next time, happy stamping and creating, and God bless.